This is the NextMind, and it lets you play games and control computers with your mind. Wait, I know what you're thinking. Does this actually work? Well, stick around because we're answering that question right in this video. The first thing a lot of you probably thought of when I said lets you play games with your mind was probably the sci-fi tech featured in movies like The Matrix or shows like Sword Art Online. Rather than a brain jack or a helmet though, the NextMind is more of a large clip with electrode prongs that make contact with the head. Those electrodes are used to measure the changes in electrical potential that occur as a result of our brain's activity. These measurements are then read by our computers and interpreted to be used as controls. This technology is known as EEG and it's been around for a long while now, though I haven't seen it in this form factor in the past. NextMind's overall package for their development kit feels pretty high quality. The box has a nicely printed image of the device on it, with the overall presentation giving both a futuristic and sleek feeling. All in all, I'd say the unboxing experience is pretty solid and is probably a good foundation for a consumer release in the future, but maybe that's just me. The software setup is also a breeze, with the NextMind installer being fast, easy to use, and very intuitive. Working into Unity projects is also fairly easy, though I'll be going into that more in a future video. Calibrating the device is very straightforward as well, with the user interface providing clear instructions. Having video and plenty of images here is great, and I don't think you'll have much trouble figuring out how to set up the device. I will note that the NextMind does use Bluetooth to connect to your device, so do keep that in mind if you have a PC like mine, where you might need to install a Bluetooth dongle in order to get things working. Once it's set up and calibrated, you're pretty much off to the races. NextMind has bundled in some pretty neat little apps for you to demo the functionality of EEG. From a platformer where you overcome obstacles by focusing on them, to a pin pad where you can enter numbers using just your mind, they really do a good job of showing what you can do with the hardware. The promise and functionality of neural-based controls is undoubtedly a monumental one, with potential to change the way we use computers forever. And today though, it bears understanding the very real limitations of the product we have at hand though. For starters, the NextMind, while very well packaged, is still a dev kit. It isn't really meant to be a consumer product, and if you purchase it at this time with that expectation, you may come away disappointed. There's not exactly a ton of products designed to make use of it at this time really, and it's far more meant for people who can build software applications it'll be used for directly rather than your average user. Then again, the comfort of the hardware itself is likely enough to drive away that kind of a broad consumer market focus here. While having dry electrodes is convenient in regards to setup time and practicality, the electrodes here are downright uncomfortable most of the time. The prongs of the electrodes can easily dig into your scalp in a manner that can be outright painful, and loosening the straps a bit may seem like an easy solution, but this runs the risk of weakening your electrode's effectiveness. It can really feel like putting pain and effectiveness on a sliding scale at times. Were this all for the sake of an unparalleled neural gaming experience, I think I'd more readily recommend getting past this. However, the reality is I do not find the performance of the neural control sufficient to elicit that evaluation. Much like the EEG experiences I've had in the past, the NextMind input consistency can be pretty hit or miss. Between the variance in calibration quality between runs, the unintuitive focusing involved in eliciting inputs, and the general unreliability of the experience, the NextMind hasn't shaken the issues I've had with EEG technology in the past. Simply put, any option you can think of that gives you control without using your hands, whether it be your voice, your eyes, or even your feet, is more likely to make an impact on your computing experience than an EEG device, of which the NextMind is no exception. With the limitations of the technology at present in mind, I do need to reiterate a point that can't be forgotten right now. It works, and is real. Not being perfect or ready to replace our current inputs must not take away from the reality that the technology is both real, functions, and has a value to provide. You're getting a decent number of sensors and a fairly well put together package for your money here. €399 or $399 is a fair price for this, and comparing the NextMind to other devices on the market like OpenBCI, Emotive, Muse, and Mindwave, you'll find that the price you're paying here for the number of electrodes, form factor, and software experience here is pretty decent. While I still think the other products I mentioned have their strengths, I'd recommend the NextMind development kit over quite a few of them in particular if your focus is on neural controls, which, I must reiterate, totally works. As long as you work within the limitations of the technology, I can see all sorts of ways in which this type of technology, and the NextMind in particular, can be used. Adjusting game scenarios based on your mental state, whether that be in difficulty or complexity, are examples of uses that are subtle enough to not need to overly rely on the NextMind to perform, while still benefiting greatly from the data the NextMind can provide. And of course, if you have an application where standard input usage may be compromised, whether that be due to being confined in a tight space, the typical input methods being being saturated or outright not having access in the case for people with handicaps or ailments, it's entirely reasonable to rely on the NextMind's EEG focus inputs for core tasks in such a circumstance. While EEG may not be a young technology, the broader spread of it to the mass market is still a budding industry, and I think NextMind is a bona fide contender in the space. Its form factor is convenient and versatile enough for a lot of applications, including VR, which is more than I can say for a few of the other headsets available at this time. NextMind probably won't be replacing your Quest controllers or Vive trackers anytime soon, but at $399 or €399 for a dev kit that features 9 electrodes without any need for something like a saline solution to be regularly applied to be used, that easily works with a headband or a VR headset strap, I think it's a great product to have available as a peripheral to the VR rigs and setups of today. While it'd be great to see improvements in the comfort of the device for a future consumer release, I think the current tech is more than good enough for a dev kit, and I'm looking forward to seeing the improvements that will come in the future. Thank you very much for watching this video, my dear adventurers and dreamers. This has been Gregory, logging out.